So once you guys figure out your paper model of what size and what type and style that you want to make your cylinder, you can cut out your template and then trace it onto your piece of metal. So I just have a rectangle here because this is kind of small, and I'm just going to solder the seam. But if I wanted to do a different method, I would have to make sure I have the template and make sure I cut it out the way that I want it to be. So this is the way that you would just tab it. So it would look like this in the end. Okay? This doesn't involve riveting or soldering, which is probably the way that I would go. And it looks cool. So, but for the method of showing you just how to shape the cylinder, I'm just going to show you the tools that you use. So I'm going to shape it this way. It's going to be a longer cylinder. So if it's much bigger than this, the width, I have to go to another tool because it's not going to work for this circumference. So you got to think about what tool to use. So this one, this nice slotted wood piece is going to work nicely for this, but just know that this is a round surface. You can hammer around that. You guys all made rings, so you all made a cylinder already. You guys all have made a cylinder already. It was just a short stubby one. So just know that before it's attached, in whatever method you're attaching it, it's not going to be fully round. By making that connection, either riveting, tabbing, or soldering, you can always slide it back onto the tool that you're using to really shape it round. It doesn't even have to be round if you don't want it to be. You can make it any shape you want. So when you start out with a tool that you have to go into a divot, you have to find a hammer that fits inside that divot. And so what I normally do is I'll use one of the straight peen hammers that have a straight edge here so that I can begin hammering inside there. If I'm hammering around a surface, I would use a hammer that has a flat face. I happen to have a hammer that has both sides that I want. I got lucky, but not all of them are like that. So have your tools ready. So I'm going to begin to tap right in here. Before I started, I annealed my piece of metal. It's going to be super easy if you anneal it. We're using like thinner gauge, and the regular gauge that we use is also pretty thin, so once you anneal it, it works really nicely. So I just kind of go like this, and I'm hammering it, and I'm kind of moving it into the slot as I shift it. And so I'll show you on this piece. So now it's rounded, and I can't really do anything else, right? So some of you that might be doing just a halfway thing, look, that's how you do it. You don't have a back piece. But if I want my piece to go all the way around, I can begin to hammer it like this now on the outside. Okay? Now, without having it attached, I'm not going to be able to make it perfectly round. So once it's like this, I can then begin to tap it in. Did anybody try to do this on their own before for another project? No? Not in this class? Okay. Someone made a tube. I don't know. Forget who did it. But this is how you make your own tube, your own cylinder. If it gets a little higher than the other side, which is easy for that to happen, hang it off the edge of one of the anvil pieces and just kind of tap it down. Sometimes pliers are helpful too. So if you overdo it, if you make it overlap by accident, just slide it on something and pull it back off. So you keep working at it and working at it until, if you're going to solder this, you need the seam to be completely flush. So you'd be working at this for a little bit. Pliers can sometimes help you also. And when we go to solder this, there's another trick that you can do to hold this closed. And it involves the steel wire and wrapping it around and holding it closed so that it doesn't go open. So if you're doing one like this, it's the same exact thing, but from this point, you would now tab it over itself, and then once it's tabbed over itself, and I'll show you that later, you can then round it. But this is pretty round. I probably could get it rounder if it's not attached, but it's easier when it's attached to its other side. Everybody got it? Yes, sir. Thank you very much.